Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today it's just going to be a sit down video. I'm just going to be doing some chit chatting, and what it's going to be about is military marriage. So I don't believe it's any secret that the military in general has a pretty high statistic of divorce. Just in numbers, it does equal the national average, which is 3.1%. But when you consider that the military population is only 4% of our country, that statistic, the actual numbers go really, really high. So what I wanted to do is just discuss some things that I believe has helped with the longevity of my marriage. Now, I have been married for 12 years, and that's not to say that my marriage is perfect. It's not to say that everyone marriage will fit into the mold that I have. I am in no means a marriage counselor. I just know that I have some information that I feel would be useful, and the reality is that my marriage is not the average marriage as far as the military community is concerned. So those are just some things that I felt that I could share and that might be useful. So I do want to put a disclaimer here. This is not to cure a marriage or to fix anyone's marriage. If you are having actual problems, if your marriage is unhealthy, or you feel unsafe in your relationship at all, the military has many channels that you can go to, whether it be your chaplain or chain of command or anything of that nature. TRICARE does cover marriage counseling if that is something that you need. So without further ado, I would like to get into some of the information and some of the tips that I believe have definitely helped the longevity of my marriage. So guys, getting started, I have my notes in front of me, so I'm going to be glancing down, not always looking at the camera. But so just getting started, I'm going to start with the numbers, just research that I've done. I don't know the reason I haven't gone into any depth as far as the statistics are concerned, just looking at them and just, seeing what they are, and I'm just going to give them out there. Now, as I said, that the national average for divorce is 3.1%, is exactly the same as far as the military is concerned. But as I said, because the number of people in the service are a lot smaller than what's in our nation, it tends to be way, way, way bigger as far as percentage is concerned. Now, speaking of percentages, the Air Force has a higher rate of divorce than other branches. They're at 4%, whereas the other average is at 3.1. I do find that kind of odd. Since the Air Force, they don't deploy, they don't go out to sea the way other branches do, but that's just a statistic. I am not in the Air Force. I never have been. My brother is. I'm not going to get into his his relationships. I don't know why that is. Maybe I should have called him and asked before this video. But anyway, I'm not gonna put his business out there. But that is just the truth of the matter. If there's anyone in the Air Force that wants to give me information or about it, I'd be happy to listen and to know. Email me or put it in the comments. I don't mind. Also, as far as the reasons that are cited, and the information I got here is from a military source of information, is of course separations. I think that's completely normal to understand that, because soldiers or airmen or the sailors or the Marines are separated from their family so much that it really puts a strain on a relationship. Also, as far as statistics are concerned, when the woman is in the service, the divorce rate goes up even higher. Now, why that is, I have no idea. Why does it matter that if it's a man or a woman in the service, separation is separation? I don't know. But that is a statistic that is there as well. Some of the reasons for this are the normal, that when people are separated, infidelity occurs. Now, I personally don't believe that infidelity happens because you're separated. I believe infidelity happens because of whatever is within that person. People cite the fact that they're not together or they need to be with someone, but I don't believe that. Like, I do not. I believe that if you are unfaithful to your spouse, it's because of everything that is within you. And whether you were in Timbuktu or whether you were at the corner down the street, that is your character. I believe that is a part of your character. I believe that when strain is put on anyone, when anyone is under any type of strain or duress, you will see more of their character come out, you know. So if someone is under any type of strain and they're mean and they're nasty, that's who they really are. It's just that these other things have brought it to light. So another reason cited as far as the separation of, you know, couples in the military is the feeling of resentment. Because someone is gone, you know, that leaves, you know, the other partner at home where they're dealing with a lot of, you know, all the household things on their own. I don't want to say like single parenting or being, you know, I don't want to say that because you know, single parents have so much more to deal with. It's not simply their partner being gone. They are financially responsible. They're responsible for the home, for the rearing of the children. Whereas when the soldier is gone, yes, the partner is responsible for all of the home things, but I wouldn't say it's a single parent because you don't have to worry about how your bills are getting paid, you know. So there's a little bit of a difference, but I still understand that there is a resentment there because your partner does not have to participate in those things. And that's where the understanding comes in, because it's not that they don't have to or that they don't want to. It's they literally cannot. You know, the military, there is no, you can't call in sick. Like, even if you get sick, there is no calling in sick unless you go to the doctor and the doctor says, I believe you're too sick to go to work. Because if you go to the doctor and he says you're perfectly fine, you don't get to use your days and be like, oh, I'm just going to use a sick day today for a mental health day. You don't get to do that. So a lot of the separation and the things of that nature are there. You don't get a choice. You know, you don't get a lot of this is not, oh, you know, they volunteered to go to this training or they volunteered for that school. Sometimes that is the case, but most time it's not. These things where there is separation is mandatory. So that does bring me to one of the first tips that I want to speak about as far as making your marriage last in the military. Because separations are so common and not just deployments when it comes to school training and training for, you know, your job and things of that nature, that's a challenge. And what I wanted to say about that is flexibility and compassion. Those things will go a long, long way in a military marriage. And it meant when you feel as if you're doing all the hard work or the heavy lifting. But when you look at it from the other person's point of view, you know, like I have been outside of my home. I've been a working mom. And to me, I'm not saying anything wrong with that, but to me, it was heart-wrenching. It was heart-wrenching to not give 100% to my team and to all my coworkers, and then to come home and still not be able to give 100% because I'm exhausted that I was at work. And at the time that I was doing this, I think my oldest, I can't remember how old she was, but I did have my second. So she was at least 3 years old. And I remember the feeling of having a newborn baby, having, you know, a toddler and going to work. And my husband was amazing, but, you know, it was a really, really big challenge, you know. So, you know, being the spouse that has to stay at home, I just, you know, imagine how my husband is feeling. You know, I know he wants to be with the children. I know he wants to be with the family. And the last thing I want to do is to make him feel worse because he can't. You know, so that's just my take on it. That flexibility and stepping into their shoes is definitely going to help you as far as dealing with that feeling of resentment and dealing with that feeling that like everything is on your shoulders. Number two, the second thing that I would say that is really, really important is to be creative. And I know that sounds kind of silly, like be creative in your relationship, like what? Because in a military relationship, you're not going to be together all the time. You're not going to be able to do the average things. So you have to be creative. Now, I know when my husband was deployed, it was when we had just had our last child. So he's pretty much missing out. He missed out like on that first year. So as he's walking, as he's learning to eat with the spoon, that first Christmas, all those things my husband didn't get to be there for, we shared a Google account. So every picture, every video that I took on my phone, my husband, it was automatically, uploaded to our Google account, and my husband saw it. So even though I'm in bed, he still, and I can't recount the whole things of that day because I'm asleep, as my husband is going through, his phone, he sees, Manny taking steps. He sees Manny trying to, feed himself and get oatmeal everywhere. Like, he sees all those things. So that's what I mean by get creative. Find a way where you can share those everyday things together, where you can show how much, you still care about each other. I know some soldiers, when they were deployed, they would order food to their home, like they're deployed in whatever country they are, but they would get online and they would order a pizza for their wife. Their wife had a bad day, they would order dinner for her, or they would, just have like little services come to the door to help her out. I've even heard of them, having like a housekeeper come if, there's a wife that, had a new baby or got boggled down with things, like little things like that. That's what I mean when I say be creative, because you're not in each other's presence to show that care. So just find ways that you can do it from far away. And my third tip for making the military marriage last longer is something that is going to sound a little controversial, but fight. Most people think that it's the most horrible thing in a relationship to fight, but I think it's exactly opposite. I think it is horrible for you to become apathetic in a relationship. I think it is horrible to sweep things under the rug just for one moment of peace. Fight. And I'm not saying be unhealthy. I'm not saying be belligerent, but I am saying fight for your marriage. Fight to get on the same page. Fight to understand each other. In my youth, I was very headstrong. I mean, I guess you could say I still am today, but I guess I have a lot more temperance and a lot more wisdom because, I'm a bit older. But you don't have to be belligerent, but I do believe that you have to fight for your marriage and not fight each other, but fight the issue. If the issue that you're having is in consideration, you have to understand that you're not fighting the person, you're fighting so both of you can be more considerate. And it's, it's just a natural thing, at times to put self-interest, but you have to fight against that. You have to fight against self-interest. You have to fight for the bigger picture. You have to fight for the family. You have to fight for the union. So there's nothing wrong with fighting if you do it properly, if you do it, in a loving way, and if you do it with understanding. But I think being apathetic in a relationship and not paying attention to the little things that might get you are just going to make them grow bigger and bigger to the point where it might become overwhelming and you really don't know how to fight it and you really don't know how to go about it. So my tip is to, fight things out, talk them out, work them out, and, try to get at that space where you all are on the same page and you're going in the same direction. So the next points that I'm going to go into as far as military marriage are not mine. They are my husband's. He is not here with me at this moment. He's a little bit camera shy. But I did want his opinion. I didn't want everything to be about how I feel, what I wanted, and what I saw. Because he has the same perspective as me, as someone that was not active duty and then became the soldier, I felt that it'd be really great to get his take on things and why does he believe that, we've lasted this long with our headstrong personalities. So I'm going to jump right into his opinion. The first thing that he told me that he felt with really making our relationship last in spite of the things that, you have to go through being in the military is that we have always strived for a connection outside of the physical. Now, it's obvious that when you're in a military relationship, you're not always going to have that physical connection. Sometimes it's going to be for months at a time. Sometimes it's going to be for years at a time. It just depends. And you have to try to get to the point where that person, conversations with them and just, having a connection with them is more than just the physical sense. Trying to get on as I said, the same page with things that matter, priorities, you know, where you can have a conversation with that person and it does feel like a hug, where you are feeling that support without having that physical reinforcement. That is something that he said definitely played a large part in the longevity of our marriage. The second thing that he said he believed played a really big part in longevity of our marriage is there was no out. Um, Me and my husband have always, from day one, felt that there's no out, and that's not in a negative sense that if one of us was extremely unhealthy that we would just put up with it just for the sake of being married. But our goal has always been, since we believe that divorce is not an option, we have to find a solution. We have to find an option, whether I have to sacrifice, whether he has to sacrifice, you know, whether the group, both of us have to sacrifice, or, you know, we are going to do whatever needs to be done for the family to be better, for the family to be whole. And that sometimes that means that an individual does not get exactly what they want. And what it means is that, you know, for the sake of the union, for the sake of the family, someone may have to sacrifice a little bit here, a little bit there, maybe completely, but whatever is best for our family is what we will do to keep it together, because individually is not what's the priority to us. It's the group as a total. So guys, those are my tips on having a military marriage that goes the distance. There are also a lot of resources that the military provides if you at this time are having a marriage that is on the rocks. As I have stated, there are chaplain services. There are counseling that you can go to that the military health insurance does pay for. There are programs like Strong Bonds. So there are lots of different resources that the military has that can assist you if you feel that your marriage could be stronger and you want it to go the distance. Thank you guys for watching my video, and I will see you in the next one.